It's a very early morning, and welcome to the Lucidist podcast. I decided to offer you a beautiful candle to look at because I want to share some lessons that I've learned that have been very unexpected, and yet I'm beginning to appreciate them almost immediately. So I didn't realize this till last night, but yesterday was exactly 8 months since my pretrial, and I was back in the courtroom at the next hearing. But this time, so in all of the other hearings that I've done, I did virtually, and this is the first, and then I was in the courtroom for the first time for the pretrial where I testified. And this was the first time I've been at a hearing in person. And it was a big step for me that I just felt like I needed to be there in person. And I also went on my own, which initially wasn't how it was going to be, but that's how it turned out. And so I just trusted. And in the end, I saw it was best just for me to know that I could and I can and I did. I wish I had more support in my life, but at the same time, it seems to fall away at interesting times. And so I'm trusting that although I believe in the power of together and community and that, it feels like I continue to be put in situations where I also understand the power within me, within each of us. And that in some ways our journey really is solo and alone. And that what we cultivate inside ourselves is extremely important. So what I want to share was interesting, many things in the courtroom yesterday. What I want to touch upon, because I feel like it's a very universal lesson, and that is I watched all the different, so at the hearing, there are many different cases coming up. So there are lots of attorneys, lots of defendants. I don't think there were many witnesses there other than myself. I mean, I guess you don't really know, but it didn't seem like that was the case. So I watched a lot of defendants go up to the podium with their defense attorneys and talk about any number of various, proposed crimes that they were being accused of. And they all looked so, men and women, they all looked just sick, just so sick. And in that moment, you could just hear the regret in their voice and their actions of them wishing they had chosen differently. And it wasn't like any of them, no one seemed to be contesting what happened in a way. But what I want to get at, I'm not here to propose innocence or guilt. That wasn't it. It was just this sense I got that we're given the opportunity to make choices. And after for so long, we're no longer given the choice. It's made for us. And that's where I think these people were finding themselves. And I do not say this lightly because, as I always say, when I send a message out, it boomerangs back around, and I'm always called to be living in the same integrity as any kind of message I feel like I should put out. Okay, so here we are. We've been given a choice, although now there's a lot of work in the neuroscience and neuropsychology field saying that oftentimes choices are made inside of us before we even, inside our brains before we even register that we've made the choice. So there's a lot of talk about free will. Do we have free will? How much free will? Is everything predetermined? Who knows? So I don't know. But that wasn't what I was getting when I was sitting in the courtroom. So we'll set aside sort of that quantum field for a moment and just look at the relative field. Let's assume for a moment that we are given choices. We have the ability to make a variety of choices in each moment. And we continue to make the same one over and over. I think we can get away with it for a long time, but at some point, I do believe, and I'm starting to understand, that we will be called on it. And here, I don't know if you're going to be able to even see this. Here's my phone screen. Oh, you can't really see it. I'll tell you what it says. I wrote this little question. How do you balance eternal scales? How do you balance eternal scales? So we have this thing called time. We believe it goes on for eternity. Who knows? And this thing called space. And inside of time and space are any number of possibilities. And if this experiment is going on for eternity, or let's just at least say a very, very long time, how does the universe find balance? Not the universe, but this whole experimental realm, whatever it is. Does it find balance? How does it find balance? If we're here making choices repeatedly, does it tip the scales in such a way that we're forced into situations where we finally choose to learn the lesson, finally choose to have the experience? Or if we don't choose, we're forced to by the outer circumstances that our choices have created. So what I'm offering, what I feel like I was offered, which I'm offering to you, is to consider the world your choices are creating. And if what you're creating is out of balance, is it easier or a little more fulfilling to make choices to bring about that balance, as opposed to finding yourself standing before a podium being forced to make that choice? It was interesting because when this has been such an ordeal for me, this whole trial process, and there have been times when I thought it was so unfair that, this man is still just walking around free. So when it came time for him to get up, he and his defense attorney got up, and it was determined that the next hearing would be November 8th, which is 3 months. My new prosecuting attorney keeps telling me this is a marathon, and I keep ignoring her advice and pretending it's a 5K. But no, this is a marathon. Anyway, so they get up, and it's determined that this will be the, things are spoken about, blah, 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 blah. It's determined the next hearing will be on November 8th. And then the judge kind of dismisses, and the defense attorney says, well, actually, we're wondering if we could lift the restrictions of him being on bail because this is an older case. And the defense attorney said something about, we think it's unreasonable or something, like and he just doesn't need to have those restrictions. And the judge goes, oh, okay, well, what are the restrictions? And, the defense attorney says, well, he needs to call in once a week. The judge goes, okay. And then the defendant, he says, well, and I have to do random drug testing. And the judge goes, okay, anything else? Well, no, but it's just such an old case. We just, this is defense attorney. It's just such an old case. We think that those should be lifted. And the judge sits there for a minute and he says, you are facing 2 first-degree felonies. I think it's okay for you to make a phone call once a week and have random drug testing. And, and he excused them again, and this time we walked out. And it was just interesting to me, where I was like, wow, you have to make a phone call once a week and have random drug testing, right? Like, for me, the easiest 2 things in the world. Either of those I could, really, if that's all I had to do, how easy would my life be? But I realized after they left the courtroom, I sat there for a little while and just kind of thought about the whole experience. And I realized after they left that for 2.5 years now, this man has, and he was a pretty, I don't know what his drug use is now, but he was a prolific drug user then. This man has not, he's been under a thumb, right? He's been under a thumb that I haven't been able to see, that I haven't understood he was under. But I think it was the first time I realized, oh, he's just not skating free out here. And it was the first time I saw, well, and it was interesting because another defendant had gotten up earlier and he was handcuffed and taken out of the courtroom through the back way, which is the jail way. Because he hadn't, I wasn't really totally paying attention to what was going on at that point. But I just remember thinking, I wonder what the rest of these defendants thinks while they're watching this. I mean, they all know that could be him. So I think the enormity of his side started to hit me. I've been so overwhelmed with my own. But again, I just come back to the choices we make. And I am aware, and I absolutely believe that there's both a relative reality and a quantum reality. Like maybe we have less free will than we think, and a lot of these are happening at the quantum level in some chaotic scattering, and we actually have absolutely no free will, and it's just happening. At the same time, we live in a relative realm where we're experiencing it as though we have free will. And I'm just proposing that we assume at that level maybe we do, and that the choices we make matter, and that we do have a choice, that we can turn the quantum tide, so to speak, that we can balance the eternal scales. I remember in one of my previous podcasts, the 3 questions with Stan McGee, he said what he would wish. I remember at the end he said something really interesting. He said he would wish for us that we're all able to cause less karmic debt in our lives. And it was just such a quick little phrase, and I didn't say anything about it in the moment because it actually kind of surprised me. I thought it was actually a beautiful blessing for all of us that the choices we make in this lifetime, whether it's the only lifetime or one of many, that we don't create or cause more karmic debt. And I use that word sort of in the connotation that it's a poor decision that leaves us with an imbalanced scale. And what I want to say about the scales, and that's just the question that came to me, is how do you balance eternal scales? And I just want to say, for me, the scales, it's not about being perfect. Just finding ways to balance the many aspects of ourselves. So that's probably, I'm just gonna sit here for a minute more. Oftentimes, it's like I need to let this thread go and just wait and see if there's another one. I guess the other strong sense that has come is just the strength of the ancestral line, and you could also call that the strength of the DNA line. So whether you look at it spiritually or scientifically, for me they're the same. The power of that line, I believe we still have not fully understood. Oh, maybe I should just say I have not fully understood. And the power of our DNA to direct the course of our lives. Again, it's not everything. We know this through epigenetics, which is why I do believe that there is some manner of free will. But also this spiritual ancestry of our lineages. I think more is handed down, handed forward, however you want to say that, than we realize. But we're not victims to it. It wouldn't make sense to me if we lived in a realm where there was absolutely no free will. I don't think that would be very interesting for consciousness. which is why I believe there are huge forces at play that we can't control, and that's set up purposefully so that we are somewhat forced into situations where we can exercise and experience the free will that we do have, and it may be very, very, very small, infinitesimal in the quantum realm, but something tiny in that realm can be incredibly powerful. Well, the sun is slowly rising. Reminds me of that song by James Taylor. I love it when he sings it with Carole King. Well, the sun is short. No, what is it? Oh no, it's the opposite of what's right now. Well, the sun is surely sinking down, and the moon is slowly rising. And this old world must still be spinning round, and I still love you. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, but I can sing, and I can't sing the blues anymore. But I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone. It won't be long before another day. We're gonna have a good time. No one's gonna take that time away. You can stay as long as you like. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, and I can't sing the blues anymore. But I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone. So there's a little good morning, James Taylor, for you all, and I hope you have a beautiful day.